Some folks just aren't dreaming big enough when it comes to XRP's potential this market cycle. Visionaries, they're few and far between. The thing is, many people only understand something after the fact. Hindsight is 20/20, right? Once it happens, they'll nod along saying, oh, of course, it made sense. But by then it's too late. If you're in that camp, odds are you're not going to make much headway in crypto investing. XRP has been held back for years, but now it's catching up and fast. Yet, somehow, there are still naysayers doubting its momentum and dismissing the idea that it can dominate this market cycle. Spoiler, it's likely to do just that. It's absurd. Now, don't get me wrong. I can respect a cautious chart analyst who avoids bold predictions, especially when it comes to XRP hitting double digits. Maybe they're just wired to play it safe. That's fine, but let's be real. Those conservative calls might not age well in the face of what's coming. Let me be upfront here. I'm not a chart analyst, so you won't catch me making precise price predictions. I'm just sharing my perspective as someone observing the market and digesting insights from countless experts. If I were a chart analyst, sure, I might feel bolder about making claims, but even without that, based on historical trends and the buzz from seasoned analysts, I think I've got a pretty solid sense of what's realistic for XRP this market cycle. Honestly, I'd be surprised if we don't hit double-digit prices this time around, whether that's $10.00 or something more ambitious like $20.00 or $30.00. I think that the range isn't completely out of reach. It's wild to think about, especially when you consider the timing. Institutional money is pouring in, whale investors are making big moves. XRP's fundamentals have never been stronger, and the artificial suppression is finally gone. It's mind-blowing to me how some people can seriously claim, sure, the market will rise, but XRP, oh, it's bound to tank. Really? That kind of thinking is way too small. Let's zoom out for a moment. Forget timelines for a second. Looking at the bigger picture, the idea of XRP eventually hitting 3 digits, $100.00 or more, is far from absurd. In fact, it's completely within the realm of possibility. If adoption keeps growing at this pace, why wouldn't it happen? Crypto still has a tiny fraction of the money compared to other asset classes, and most people have never even heard of XRP, yet it's already standing out as an early frontrunner. So what do you think comes next? To me, the answer couldn't be clearer, but of course, we're still stuck with the nonsense opinions like the one on your screen right now. This one's courtesy of Cointelegraph, a publication that seems to have made it its mission over the past decade to irrationally bash XRP. It's honestly impressive how consistently they churn out these dramatic headlines. And guess what? You don't see this level of obsession with any other altcoin. Let me show you. Yesterday, they hit us with this gem. Is the XRP price rally over for now? Ooh, spooky stuff, right? But wait, they weren't done. Today, they doubled down with another fear-inducing headline. Is XRP price going to crash again? Seriously, folks, you don't see this hysteria aimed at any other large cap coin. It's uniquely reserved for XRP. Cointelegraph seems to be infected with what I like to call XRP derangement syndrome, and it shows every single day. Now, to be fair, I'm not afraid of discussing the bearish takes when they pop up. In this case, they're suggesting that XRP could nosedive to 50 cents in the short term. But let's be real here. The only scenario where that happens is if the entire crypto market goes down in flames. So maybe ease up on the doomsday headlines, Cointelegraph. Just a thought. If we're looking at the market either holding steady or gearing up for Bitcoin's final parabolic run, blasting to a new all-time high and kicking off a massive alt season, the idea of XRP just bowing out quietly doesn't add up, does it? Like, well, I had my moment, time to drop in price and sit this one out. See you later, guys. Come on. That's not how this works. People throwing around predictions like that in 2024. Yeah, those takes are going to age like milk left out in the sun. Spoiled and curdled. We're heading for an alt season, folks. Bitcoin's hitting 6 figures and you're telling me XRP is just going to sit on the sidelines doing nothing. Please, let me show you exactly what's going on. I haven't seen a single analyst predict XRP could drop to 50 cents, yet here it is right on your screen. Take a look. They're talking about inverse cup and handle pattern with a target of 50 cents. Now, I'm not going to read the full thing for you, but if you're curious, pause and dive into the subsection of the article. It's all there. I'm not afraid to highlight differing perspectives, but let's be real. The only way we're seeing XRP at 50 cents is if the entire crypto market collapses, and that's unlikely considering XRP's insane resilience. Let's not forget institutional money is pouring into XRP right now. The ultra wealthy are buying in. They're the so-called smart money. You think they're all going to get blindsided and watch XRP crash to 50 cents? Highly doubtful. The article claims XRP could plummet on its own. No broader market chaos required. Really? That's a bold take. But let me remind you, XRP isn't just surviving, it's thriving. It's been the top performing coin out of the top 100 by market cap since the election. Yet 2 days in a row, I'm seeing negativity piled on XRP. Some people just won't get it. They'll end up with egg on their face. It happens. Remember this? Capo, Il Capo of crypto, one of the most followed chart analysts in the crypto world, boasting 958,000 followers. But even the greats stumble. And this time, he made a big prediction that went south. It was a high stakes miss. And while being wrong isn't a crime, it left a mark. Here's the thing. Every solid analyst is bound to get things wrong sometimes. It's part of the game. Charting is all about probabilities, not certainties. Even with the sharpest logic and most rational analysis, the improbable can and does happen. No one's immune to that. And that's fine. Mistakes come with the territory. But what really gets under people's skin, what stings the most, isn't the mistake itself. It's when someone refuses to own it. Bad analysis can be forgiven, but doubling down when you're clearly wrong, that's what leaves a bad taste, not just in crypto, but in life. When everyone can see you're wrong about something and you know they know it, refusing to admit it only makes things worse. Digging in your heels at that point, that's how you lose people. Here's the thing. There's a life lesson in this. Just be real, own your mistakes. Sure, admitting you're wrong isn't fun, it stings, but in the long run, it's better for you. Nobody wants to deal with someone who can't own up. I don't like being wrong either, but facing it head on is always the right move. Why? Because when you don't admit you're wrong, especially when it's obvious, you shatter trust. And trust is far harder to rebuild than the temporary discomfort of saying, I messed up. Own it. You'll thank yourself later. Check out this post from Il Capo, dated January 3rd, 2023. Now keep in mind, this was nearly 2 months after the FTX collapse, a time when it felt like the sky was falling in the crypto world. Doom and gloom were everywhere. People were convinced crypto was dead, Bitcoin was heading straight to zero, and the market seemed to be scraping rock bottom. But here's an interesting twist. XRP didn't hit the news cycle low after FTX imploded. Its cycle low actually happened way back in June 2022, months before FTX unraveled. The chatter was deafening, with doomsayers predicting Bitcoin's plunge to $12,000 0 cents. Fast forward to the day of this post, January 3rd, 2023, Bitcoin was sitting at $16,736 0 cents. Il Capo shared a chart with a caption, "A chart is worth 1,000 words," boldly predicting Bitcoin could drop to $11,500 0 cents, $12,000 0 cents. This wasn't just a one-off call. His posts were filled with similar forecasts. Il Capo was certain Bitcoin's next stop was $12,000 0 cents. But then the market flipped and he got it wrong. It was like the bottom was in and analysts were calling it left and right. Seriously, there were loads of analysts confidently declaring the bottom, and the ones I followed, they nailed it. Not one of them thought it would break down further, and guess what? It didn't. Yet he dug in hard. Here's another example. June 23rd, 2023. Check out this bold headline. Top trader predicts Bitcoin will crash to $12,000 0 cents. This was nearly 6 months later. By then, Bitcoin had surged to $30,000 0 cents, not $16,000 0 cents anymore. A full leap to $30,000 0 cents. And still, there he was, shouting that Bitcoin was heading for $12,000 0 cents. Spoiler, he was way off. You know how the story goes. That was 2023, the bottom of the market. The bull run was starting, and from there, everything exploded. That was the real turning point. He never admitted he was wrong. Never. He dug in, stubborn as ever, then disappeared from the spotlight, going private. Silence followed. She didn't hear a word from him for ages. Then, out of nowhere, he reemerged with a bang, stirring things up again. Yesterday was the kicker and why I'm even talking about him now. His posts are everywhere. Nearly 1 million followers soaking up his every move. This time, he shared a single image. No caption, no explanation, just a black swan. You know what that means? A looming disaster. It's like watching inverse Kramer in action. Maybe we need an inverse Kappa now because, wow. Look, it's okay to be wrong. We all are sometimes, but refusing to own up, that's how trust erodes. And trust me, he's burned through a lot of it with a lot of people. It's pretty incredible he still has such a massive following, isn't it? Crypto Michael, yes, the same guy who nailed calling the bottom and predicted the XRP breakout, shared some bold insights recently, and honestly, he's been spot on. He said, bears calling for a black swan event here is pure cope. If anything, the Black Swan event was Trump introducing tariffs last month, which only caused a brief market dip. Bitcoin will hit a new all-time high soon, whether you like it or not. Now, that's the kind of confidence I'm betting on. I'm 100% with him on this one. Michael has been making these calls for quite a while now, and he's got the receipts to back it up. Just check out this post from a few days ago. I told you to buy XRP at 30 cents. I told you to buy XRP at 50 cents. I told you to buy XRP at $1.30. I told you to buy XRP at $1.90. This could be your last chance to buy before a new high. If the entire market takes a nosedive, XRP will likely ride the same wave downward. But here's the exciting part. If history is any guide, and there are plenty of metrics suggesting it is, we could be on the verge of Bitcoin's final explosive parabolic run, which often sparks an altcoin season. And guess what? That's when XRP tends to shine the brightest, outpacing other top coins. Here's an interesting flashback. A post shared on September 18, 2022, less than 2 months before the infamous FTX collapse. By then, XRP had already hit its low of 28 cents in June 2022. The poster? Well, they weren't just talking. They were walking the walk. They revealed they had just invested $150,000, 0 cents, into XRP at 33 cents per coin. And this wasn't just talk. They backed it up with receipts, literally. Screenshots showed multiple buy orders, around 63,000 XRP here, 6,000 there, another 10,000, 4,000, and one massive purchase of 288,000 XRP. The evidence was right there for all to see, showcasing their big bet on XRP's potential future. Yes, he truly put his money where his mouth is. There are some out there who prove that big thinking isn't just a concept, it's a reality. I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here. You guys already get it. But out there, we're stuck dealing with these so-called functional idiots. Whether it's driven by emotion, like those suffering from a severe case of XRP derangement syndrome, or just plain bad analytical skills, they simply lack the vision to see the bigger picture. Whatever the reason, we're left wading through their nonsense. It ranges from vicious attacks to the most laughable analysis you've ever seen. Sometimes it's not just bad, it's consistently wrong, irrational, and somehow still finds a home in crypto media. And yet, we endure it. That's exactly why I wanted to spotlight this in today's video, because while there's less of it now, it's still worth calling out. There was a lot more negative chatter about XRP throughout 2024, but it's interesting how quiet those critics have become now that XRP is surging. Fear of being proven wrong, perhaps? I did find a few examples of skeptics still sticking their necks out, so I figured why not share. XRP is holding strong, and honestly, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see it hit double digits one day. It's not a matter of if, but when, in my opinion. This is the kind of moment where life-changing wealth gets made, and someday we'll be able to look back and laugh at all the doubt and negativity. Speaking of, don't forget about my Future Dunks tab on X. For years, I've been bookmarking some of the most absurd takes about XRP, and once the market shifts into bear territory, I'll be rolling out a video. Trust me, you're going to want your popcorn ready for that one. It's going to be epic. Of course, you've still got folks with what I like to call XRP derangement syndrome. They'll say it's useless or call it a scam coin, but honestly, their arguments don't hold water. Some folks are finally catching on and giving XRP the credit it deserves. One notable voice is Dawn Alt, a big name in crypto with a massive following. Yes, the devil's number, fitting for the wild world of crypto. Just a few days ago, Don shared an update, XRP update, sending it from range low, already up 20% since the last post. Pretty sure that's nothing compared to what's coming if this thing truly breaks out. Funny enough, Don has openly disliked XRP in the past, so it wasn't even on his radar, but once the charts started moving in November, he had to admit XRP was the real deal. Credit where credit's due, he called it, and sure enough, XRP broke out. He's convinced it's going to explode once this thing takes off. Well, he said, if it takes off, but come on, what do you think happened? The only way this doesn't happen again is if the entire crypto market collapses and burns out for the cycle. If that's the case, fine, but let's be real, that's unlikely. Here's the takeaway. I believe it's going to absolutely crush expectations, but hey, I'm not the only one. Enter Mikey Bull Crypto, a pro XRP chart analyst with a solid track record. While he's great at what he does, I think he's seriously underestimating XRP's potential this cycle. His targets? Bitcoin hitting $120,000, 0 cents to $140,000, 0 cents this round. Sure, that's decent, but some might call it conservative. I'm not sure if that's low or not. It seems pretty reasonable. You know, it's within the realm of possibility. So take Ethereum, for example, $8,000, 0 cents. Is the projection. That's about a twofold increase compared to its last cycle, which doesn't sound too far-fetched. but then there's XRP. Someone thinks it's going to peak this cycle between $4.00 and $6.00. Seriously? If that prediction turns out to be right, I'll gladly give credit where it's due, but honestly, I'm super skeptical. Are we really saying that XRP during a proper alt season won't even double its previous all-time high? Let's not forget 2 cycles ago, not last cycle, mind you, XRP hit $3.35 at its peak. And now, at best, it's not even going to do a 2x after over 7 years of progress. Meanwhile, Ethereum could skyrocket to $8,000 or $10,000. Let's also remember that before all the government interference and global price suppression, XRP was a serious contender for that number 2 spot. XRP has held the number 2 spot in market cap several times in its history. Are we seriously saying it's not even going to push for that position again? Call me skeptical, but I'm not buying it. Or here's the thing, think bigger. That's my gut talking. And if I'm wrong, fine, I'll admit it. I'm not here to protect my ego. Sure, admitting you're wrong is never fun, but I'm not tying myself to one idea or throwing out a concrete price prediction. Instead, I'm sharing what my instincts and the data are telling me, looking at real world price movements, the adoption trends, and how the smart money, the ultra wealthy, the true market movers has been flowing into XRP. I just can't see this thing peaking at $4.00 to $6.00. That feels way too conservative. My gut says otherwise. What about you? Are we on the same wavelength here? Doesn't that range just seem too low? Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear your take. Dive in and take a closer look. Check out this post from Paul Barron on the Paul Barron Network YouTube channel. He's built a solid reputation with 1.41 million subscribers and $160,000 0 cents in earnings, a testament to his popularity. While his channel isn't strictly about crypto and definitely not focused solely on XRP, Paul often shares his unbiased take on the market, and guess what? He seems pretty bullish on XRP right now. In a recent video, Paul highlighted some exciting trends. His market sentiment indicator revealed strong bullish signals for XRP, suggesting it's currently underrated compared to macro conditions. He described XRP as coiling up for a market boom. And you know what? That makes complete sense. XRP has been consolidating for months after its first big breakout of this cycle. History repeats itself. We're just waiting for the next big move. This pattern has played out in the last 2 XRP cycles, and it looks like we're following the same playbook. So is the best yet to come for XRP, according to Paul? Absolutely. I've been thinking about something fascinating lately. There's this post from chart analyst Dom that caught my attention. He's tracking a pair I've never seen anyone else mention. XRP against US oil. Yep, the price of XRP denominated in US oil. Here's the kicker. Dom pointed out that whatever happens with the XRP/US oil pair seems to predict what's coming for the XRP/USD pair with about a 2-week lag. How wild is that? It's got me wondering, why does this happen? What's the connection here? I'd love to hear Dom's thoughts on what might be driving this pattern. Lately, I've noticed something intriguing. The XRP/US oil pair seems to consistently lead the XRP/USD pair. In simpler terms, the price of XRP often mirrors movements in the XRP/US oil pair. Why? Honestly, the only explanation I can come up with, and it's a bit of a stretch, is that it's tied to macroeconomic factors, global money flows outside of the crypto sphere, and perhaps even something specifically related to oil. But if you ask me to dig deeper into the why, I'd have to admit, I'm stumped. It's a puzzle, and I find myself genuinely curious. So I decided to ask someone who might have a better grasp of it. Here's what happened. On May 14th, Dom shared an update about XRP/US oil when someone asked if breaking a key level could trigger another parabolic move, breaking XRP's all-time high. Dom's response: if we see a full breakout, historically, yes. It's only a matter of time until XRP/USD prints a new high. Interesting, right? I absolutely believe it too. Dom's on the side of course, we're going to see a new all-time high in enterprise discovery. And here's the kicker. Dom, who's usually more on the cautious side, thinks XRP could hit as high as $10.00 this market cycle. Honestly, I respect that. Anyone projecting XRP in that range, even close to double digits, is worth paying attention to. Sure, it's a conservative take, but sometimes the cautious outlook ends up being right. Who knows? Time will tell. Anyway, I replied to him saying, it's fascinating how a big move in the XRP/US oil pair could be a signal that a major XRP/USD shift might follow soon after. Makes you think, doesn't it? Have you ever wondered why the XRP/US oil pair seems to consistently reflect price movements for XRP/USD? There's got to be something happening in the real world driving this curious market behavior. When Dom weighed in, he called it a fascinating relationship, particularly with Bitcoin and US oil. He suggested that pairing XRP with something as integral to the global economy as oil offers a fresh perspective on price action. That really got me thinking. It's such a unique angle, and I was hoping for deeper insights, but honestly, it's tricky to pin down exactly why this connection exists. What do you think? I can't really blame him for not knowing. Honestly, does anyone truly know? Sometimes all you can do is observe, piece things together, and theorize about the reasoning behind it. Anyway, he mentions there's probably no direct relationship, just that it's useful for spotting things you might miss on the USD pair. Makes sense, right? It's all part of this massive tangled web of global transactions. Everything influences everything else. Even if the impact is so minuscule, it doesn't show up on a chart. But sometimes it does. The whole system is interconnected, like an intricate, invisible thread weaving it all together. That's just how it works. And when the break happens, those who aren't thinking big enough, well, their predictions will age like milk in the sun. Oh, and just to be clear, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't buy or sell anything based on what I say or write. It would probably end poorly. Seriously, don't.